welcome to MCN and a Bikes We Own special, because I've bought a new bike and I'm going to introduce it for the first time here. Now, Suzuki Hayabusa is a motorcycling legend, and I've ridden several of them over the years, all three generations, and they're all brilliant. They're still an almost unique sensation. I know there's ZZRs and things like that, but the Hayabusa is always the one that's kind of captured my heart a little bit. It's just the comedy way that they accelerate, and kind of the rev counter and the speedos just sweep at the same rate almost. They're an experience in themselves, even though they're not the most powerful, fastest thing in the world anymore. They're a brilliant bit of fun. But I've never owned one, and I've never really had the money or the need for one at the right time. But I always thought if one came up at the right money, I'd be into it and maybe I'd go and buy it. And that's happened now, and I've bought one. And I bought this one. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's barely a Hayabusa anymore, but bear with me, there is some rationale to the reason I bought this particular bike. Now, I don't really have any kind of the common addictions. I don't gamble, I don't take drugs, I don't drink, well, not excessively anyway. But my addiction is Facebook Marketplace. I'm always scrolling through, looking for some kind of tat to buy. And one evening, this popped up. And it was £1,800, which still seems like a lot of money for a bike in, well, this sort of state. But the thing about Hayabusas is they're popular with drag racers, people who do straight line speed events, and the kit car community as well. And once they drop below a certain point, they tend to get broken up for parts. So you very rarely see them much below £3,000 because they just get blown apart, the engine's robbed, and the carcass is thrown back on eBay. But this one, for whatever reason, the owner listed it that cheap, and I thought, that's too cheap not to buy, even in this state. So I went along. It wasn't very far away from my house as well, which made it a lot easier. I've got a van, so just nipped off one evening. And we did a deal. I knocked him down another £300. So this was only £1,500. And I think it's probably the cheapest running Hayabusa in the world. And it even has an MOT as well. So despite appearances and my piss taking, I'm deceptively pleased with it. So I'm going to walk you through it now. And talking of walking, what do you want?
Well, we're not going to let this go unchecked, because if you're a Suzuki Hayabusa fan, this is a bit of an abomination. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the cheapest Hayabusa that you could find, but it is cheap for a reason. So firstly, when you picked it up, did it run off the button straight away?
Define the button.
Did it run?
It ran, yeah. However, what he did say was when you touch the starter button, nothing happens. So obviously this is the Superleggera lightweight version with bits cut off, and kind of there's bits of electrical stuff hanging out everywhere, including the starter solenoid. So this is what you use to start it. So you just give it a little jump and off it goes.
So as it goes, the engine is standard, it sort of runs. Let's start at the back, because I'm looking at it and it is essentially a rust bucket that's covered in cable ties. So if we start at the back, what on earth has gone on here?
I don't know. So, well, this is a 2002. So if you're a bit of a Hayabusa nerd, it's got the steel subframe, not the early alloy ones that fell off. So he's cut it off there and got out probably a stick welder or something like that, or Ray Charles and his MIG welder to put this on where he's cut it off. And in all I can't tell you what's going on here. There's some pointy bits of metal, kind of poorly welded on, and some rust, and a tail light that's held on with cable ties, and a regulator rectifier held on with cable ties. Actually.
So you actually had to look at this, and obviously the electronics and the electrics here look a bit suspect. So how on earth are you going to sort of fix that and make this all clean?
It runs. What do I need to fix? You're being picky here, Carl. This is not a brand new press bike. This is real used motorcycling. This is what you're dealing with, mate.
I know you're mechanically sound and you're mechanically sympathetic, but surely, would you be happy to say ride this on track, ride this on the road in its current state, or what would you look at, and what do you feel like you need to change straight away? Because I'm seeing a lot of warning signs.
Yeah, I'm in two minds about it, and I'll come to my kind of thought process in a minute. But I am gonna, like I say, it does have a current MOT, although the guy who did this work bought it with the MOT on and just as a standard-ish Hayabusa, and then did this, so it wasn't tested like this. So I'm very much doubtful whether to get another one. So I think one of the first things I'll do is take it to an MOT station and get somebody not too close to it to have a look round as well as taking a bit of a look myself. So we'll do that. And the guy actually had it dynoed last year, and as long as he's not broken something in the meantime, which is not out of the question, that may well have happened. It was making 156 horsepower and 90 pound of torque thereabouts, which is what an early Hayabusa made. So I think it's actually healthy underneath, and I don't think it's done very many miles despite having all this done. So I think making sure things are kind of cable tied on securely, and it might be all right for a gentle potter around somewhere.
So, appearance aside, what you're saying is you can buy a Hayabusa for 1,500 quid that is mechanically sound-ish.
Maybe.
Maybe. So what?
I put it in my van and I took it home and didn't ask any more questions.
Now we all know that sanity isn't your strongest point.
No.
But what is your first port of call then for this? Because obviously you've got to spend a fair amount of time on it to get it reasonable, even if you want to strip it down and sell it. What is your first port of call, and what is your end game with it?
Well, the end game is it's kind of a bit up in the air because it was so cheap. I thought, bit of man math happening. I thought I can't not buy this. The engines in these are worth much more to the kit car and kind of racing community than this bike was. I mean, if I sold the engine, ECU and loom out of this, it's probably somewhere in the region of £2,000. So there's kind of an instantaneous profit there. So in a kind of selfish way, just make a quick buck on it. And by the time you've sold the suspension and the swing arm, they're quite common for street fighter conversions on a few older bikes. There's probably sort of a decent bit of profit I can plough into one of my regular bikes. So if all else fails, that's probably what's going to happen with it. Somebody with a Radical or something will have an engine.
So the engine standard, the frame, the main bulk of the frame standard, swing arm standard, suspension standard.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's the original shop, and I think what they've done as well, because as you can see here with kind of all this malarkey, it's very close. I think they've ramped up the compression all the way because there's not a great deal going on there. There's a bit of movement, but Hayabusas are usually nice floaty things with a bit of cushion. This just isn't. So I think it's been cranked up to avoid this hitting too often.
Do you know when things look bad on videos and in photos, but you really get a sense of how bad it is in person, don't you? Like, what even is this? What's with the seat?
I don't have the answers. I mean, I'm not going to go in too hard. I mean, kind of the rat bike, survival bike, whatever you want to call that word. I don't understand it, but it makes lots of people happy. And in some ways, they're kind of riding around on bikes, not worrying about what other people think, and riding them in winter and going to rallies and having fun. So you know what? Fair play to you. I'm not going to pick on you, but I don't get it. And equally, I think really this kind of this standard of work is not quite there, I think. So whatever its future is, it can't stay like this.
If it's your bike, it's how you want to be, and you're happy with it, then it doesn't matter really what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, and the seller was a really nice bloke, and he'd kind of got some stuff going on, and sort of needed to sort of flog a few bikes off and sort of change what he was riding. So that was his kind of motivation to sell it, I guess.
So it's quite interesting, isn't it? And we're going to follow this a little bit closer just to see if you can actually get something half decent for 1,500 quid, and if you can, sort of put a bit of work into it and make a bit of money. So next up, what are you going to do? You're going to strip it? You're going to...
No, like I say, go for an MOT. I might try and get it on our sort of regular dyno if they'll even let it through the doors. There's a strong possibility they won't, and to be fair, I wouldn't blame them. And have a bit of a go of it myself. I need to sort out the starter button, which I'll actually demonstrate in a minute, because there's something going on there, which I think actually it might be just sticking, because now it fires all the time rather than just not working. So I think there's just probably some black paint actually, because what you probably can't see on the video is it's not, the paint job's not the best, let's put it that way. I think what's happened is somebody's kind of walked around it with a rattle can, maybe put a bin bag over part of the engine, because there's a bit of a line there, and sort of a few other bits. Oh look,
is that something that just fell off?
Yeah, something fell off. I'll keep that shot. Yeah, I mean, even not on this side, but on the other side, some of the fork chrome's got black paint on as well. So it's a very quick and rough paint job, and I imagine underneath the wind salt that's still all over it as well, which is not from me. It's he's obviously ridden it fairly recently. I imagine there's probably a little bit more in terms of cosmetic horrors to unearth, really. So
yeah, the paint on the fork's incredible, isn't it? That's a new way to check how much travel you're using.
yeah, you don't need a little O-ring on there. No, you just put some paint on there and wait for it to come off. But yeah, and equally, obviously, you've seen in some of our videos we use a runway for testing, so I think I might book a morning up there away from any members of the general public and that might come to harm, and have a bit of a ride on it and maybe see if it's still fast. Because that's a Hayabusa. The runway's not quite long enough to sort of push it to its 180 mile an hour-ish potential. I mean, I imagine it's probably not much fun trying to hide behind that anyway, but perhaps see if it still does a quarter mile and sort of up to 150 mile an hour acceleration.
Yeah, well, Joe, it would be great as well if we put it up against a brand new Hayabusa and just see, how different it is to ride without the wind protection. You know, with these got bar risers on it.
It has. Well, that's the kind of one practical concession here. I'd say that's about an inch of spacing just to lift the clip-ons a little bit higher, because they're not separate handlebars on these. It's a big plate with the tubes coming off the side. So somebody's lifted that. So it's comfortable. It's a tourer.
It's not a tourer. It's 1,500 quid, and to be fair, like, props to you for going and buying it. So for those of you who don't know Chris, he loves working in the garage and stuff like that. And he sent me a message and he was like, I'm going to have a look at this Hayabusa. And then 4 hours later, he sent me a picture of it in his van. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Look, I love the sheer just savagery of it. But I'm excited to see if it passes its MOT, because to be honest, looking at it, it's 50-50, isn't it? To be honest, I'm looking forward to see if it even starts at the moment. Yeah, I
mean, the battery's not enjoyed the cold as well, so
it's like 0 degrees out, so it's not nice for anything really, is it? But yeah, well, should we try and get it started, and then
it's still just a needle sweep, so that's a good start. But so old Suzuki's, if you're not aware of, to get them started, before you push the button, you have to pull the clutch in. So leave the starter button alone on that handlebar. Didn't need the pliers.
What?
So
that's stuck on.
Yeah, there's something gummy inside, but no rattles. Fairly even idle. And ready? Fair enough. And that's the thing, the Hayabusa is always about the engine, and that bit's good. I mean, if it hadn't been, I'd have walked away, because I mean, I looked at the rest of it, though, it's functional. It's not, I don't think it's bent, or the forks aren't leaking, the brakes work and they're not binding, so it's sort of okay, but that's kind of the deal breaker with this. But so far it's all right. Maybe I'll even drop the oil and have a look and see if there's any big chunks of stuff in there. But I mean, I've only ridden it across the car park here where I unloaded it, but I've managed to sort of just click through all 6 gears at 20 miles an hour. They're all there and they drive forward and don't make any weird noises, at least under gentle load. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this has some sort of future, even if it's not in one piece. I'm sort of umming and ahhing whether it's worth putting it back to some sort of originalish state, or even a kind of a different kind of form, a naked bike, sort of a beaking-ish thing.
Yeah,
but
I think that'd be a bit easier, make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Because I mean, what I should say actually is, as I was loading it in the van, this guy said, "Well, I don't have a Hayabusa anymore. I've got a load of fairings and things for them." So he's given me a set of the original nose, mirrors, headlights. Unfortunately, they are all matte black as well. But I mean, that's something else I want to play with actually as well, because I mean, as you can see here on the frame, there's a little spot where I don't know whether there's fuel or brake fluid has dripped down there. And it's come off, and the original frame finish underneath is still there. It's not been keyed. I think this is just a really...
It's just been covered.
Like I say, it's just a absolute spray bomb job. So I'm probably going to buy myself some isopropyl alcohol and a rag and just see if I can just wipe all this off and see what's underneath, because I mean, it doesn't look like there's any filler in any of this.
No, it actually looks in a reasonable condition.
Like I say, I mean, I think it's got something like 35,000 miles in it, so it's not super high miles for a bike this age. I think underneath there's potentially, or there was anyway, sort of an honest second-hand Hayabusa. So we'll finish peeling off all these. Oh, there we go.
Don't litter.
I'll get it in a minute. So we'll finish peeling off all this rubbish and see what's underneath, because it might be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See what I've got. See what it was beforehand as well. The exhausts actually, they were Yoshimura's. You can see in the end there's the little Yoshimura symbol embossed into it, but they've been cut and again hit with the paint. So. Oh, that was the other spare. I've got a set of immaculate original exhausts. That's
perfect.
The best bit of the bike isn't actually attached to the bike.
Well,
So, if you need a set of original Hayabusa exhausts, drop me a message. I'll flog them to you.
That's the thing. So this is a slightly different take on our bikes. This is something that Chris likes to do in his spare time because he's strange like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to follow this journey, see what the bike's like, see what it's like under the skin, see if it's still properly road legal and reasonable to ride on the road, and then hopefully you're going to sort of make some money out of it. So
one way or the other, yeah, it'll there's whether it comes apart or goes back together, it hopefully make a few quid for my other projects and bikes to move forward with. God knows I could use it.
Nice. Can't wait to see you ride it, to be honest. That's going to be the funniest.
So, yeah. Well, actually, I mean, there's not much space here, and I only just fit in. So I think we need somebody smaller to try. But like I said, this is the first part in a 3-part series. So the next one we're going to try and get it on the dyno if BSD will let us anywhere near their rolling road. Get an MOT on it. I know somebody who will kind of make our editor work with putting the bleeps in, and have a go on it to a runway as well, and see what a 1500 by Hayabusa. Put the data log on it and see what is probably the world's cheapest Hayabusa can still do. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see the rest of this and our other videos, and please drop a comment below and let me know what you think.
Or how mental he is.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.